Hi everyone, welcome back to Blind Man Wakeboarding with me, Tom Archer. In this video I'm going to be talking about something reasonably big in my life, which is my sight loss. So just to explain probably a bit of boring sciencey stuff here, I have a rare genetic condition called Wolfram syndrome, which has affected my optic nerves. This is also, it's a degenerative condition, so my sight deteriorated very slowly over a long period of time. It started off really when I was around 7 years old. I didn't sort of think too much of it at the time, but I just couldn't really see stuff from a distance, like writing off the whiteboard at school and things. Then over the years it got a bit worse and a bit worse. I had to start reading larger font and everything. Mobility became a slight issue. Eventually, I'm at the stage now where I can't read anything apart from, do a little bit of braille. And in terms of my mobility now, I rely on a white cane, which I learnt the hard way to start using a white cane. I'd started using it in unfamiliar environments, but in places that I knew well, I thought, nah, I'll be absolutely fine. Until one day, I walked straight into a signpost and split my eyebrow open. So then I was like, maybe it's about time now that I started using this full time. So my cane, I call my cane James. Everyone should have a name for their cane. And yeah, that helps me on the main part. I avoid obstacles now. And yeah, it's kind of my sight now. It's sort of, I've got light perception and I can contrast. I can sometimes sort of make out contrasting things. And I detect movement, which is apparently a bit like a T-Rex. Hopefully at some point maybe do a bit of a Q&A, because people ask me so many questions about this. But I'd say maybe just go over a few things. So I'll talk about the good and the bad stuff, start with the negative side of things. I guess it doesn't impact my life as much as diabetes, for example, but I'd say the main thing with the eyesight, it doesn't sort of get me down, but it can be a bit frustrating. Particularly, I'd say one of the most annoying things is when I'm looking for something, for example, like my keys. I've looked over and over again, can't find them. Eventually, ask someone for help, and it turns out I'd missed them by centimetres. Guess the other thing, the main thing, is recognising people. So obviously, can't do that visually. I just rely on voices. So quite often, someone will say hi to me, and I'll have no idea who it is. I'll have a conversation and spend the rest of the day trying to work out who they were. But, it's one of those things. Any positives to being visually impaired? Well, you've got to sort of play the card that you're dealt, really. So I tend to have a pretty positive attitude towards things. I'd say disabled parking, 2 for 1 at gigs, festivals and the cinema. It's pretty good. People praise me a lot just for doing things like crossing the road, walking down a set of steps. People call me brave, which, I'll take that. In terms of my eyesight and kind of sort of how it shaped my life, really, so I still went to kind of mainstream schools and whatnot, which meant, and like I say, where my sight deteriorated over time, it's meant I have been able to experience things like riding a bike and playing video games, for example. I don't tend to miss them now because I'm really positive and I just think, well, at least I could do them. But then things that I've done since my sight has deteriorated, spent a lot of time in the gym, I've done boxing, MMA, kickboxing, etc. Done a spot of kayaking and paddleboarding because I like, adventure. And then, about 6 years ago now, I got into rock climbing, which I absolutely love. I spend a lot of time at the project, the bouldering centre. Spent some time out on the real rock doing a bit of climbing. For people who know about climbing, I've done a little bit of bouldering, mainly sport, and I've done some trad. Then it was really, so it's funny how everything in life kind of leads to another. quite a few years back I started playing blind cricket, which is entertaining, slightly dangerous, but there we go. And through that and the Dorset Blind Association, so through the cricket we then were helping Dorset Blind to do some fundraising, and then through that they told me about the British Disabled Water Ski and Wakeboard Association at Ellingham Lake, and that's how I got into water skiing. And then obviously through water skiing I moved on to wakeboarding. So kind of one thing led to another, and really it's just about making the most of every opportunity that you can, and then through those opportunities hopefully other opportunities will present themselves. Thing about being blind, I would say for me, obviously I'm really into sport. There are a lot of blind people who are into sport. There are blind people, well, we're just like normal people, such a variety. Some blind people might not be into sport, but are really good with technology. Yeah, everyone's kind of got their skills. One thing I would say I've got, which is really good yet slightly annoying, is just my positive attitude. It's sickening in some ways. So I mean, not that I feel I'm in a position to give people advice, but if anyone would benefit from this, for someone who's recently been diagnosed with sight loss, or know someone who has, what I would say, well, the internet is a great place, and for example, there's a Facebook group called VI Talk, which is where visually impaired people get together, ask lots of questions. And through that, you can find out about lots of opportunities that may be in your local area. They may kind of, maybe things that you need to travel to. Assisted travel on the trains is amazing, so never be intimidated by having to travel to things. And I would just say, well, it's kind of thinking about what you enjoy and what might appeal to you, and just taking every opportunity that you can. One thing I would say about me, I am incredibly lucky. I've got some great friends, and my family are so supportive, and they're always happy to help out where they can, whether that be with transport or other things. So I appreciate that not everyone is in that situation, but just, yeah, see what's out there really. Oh, pardon the pun. To wrap it up, I'd say being blind isn't all that bad. I've still been able to experience so many things in my life. One thing I would just mention as well, people often, they have so many questions. If you know someone who's visually impaired and you have questions, just, feel free to ask, really. I don't mind them. People have asked silly questions, people ask intelligent questions. But yeah, like I say, being blind isn't all that bad. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Again, pardon the pun.